If you're having problems with your septic system and you're tired of spending so much money each year to have it pumped, then SeptiClean is the answer for you. SeptiClean is an advanced specially formulated blend of bacteria used in the treatment of home and commercial septic systems. The breakdown of waste in your system relies on biological activity of naturally occurring bacteria. SeptiClean restores the natural biological process in your septic system and boosts the existing biological activity. SeptiClean is completely safe on all plumbing and can help prevent expensive emergencies in pumping. SeptiClean has approximately 6 to 100 times the bacteria count of other leading off-the-shelf brands in a 1-year supply. SeptiClean comes in a water-soluble pack, which you flush down the toilet once a month with no mess or stress. Save time, money, and maintenance on your septic system. Find SeptiClean at Emporium True Value Hardware on Main Street in Sag Harbor or visit micro-tab.com. That's micro-tabb.com. Micro-tabb.com.
This is the Roger Stone Show on 77 WABC.
Presented by Legacy Precious Metals.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart, and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone.
Now, here's Roger Stone.
Welcome back. This is the Roger Stone Show on 77 WABC Radio. Joining us now, Mike Davis, former chief counsel of the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee, formerly a clerk for Supreme Court Justice Gorsuch, and the chairman and leader of the Article 3 project. Some have speculated about the appointment of Mike Davis as U.S. Attorney General. I think that would be a superb idea, but it's premature. Mike Davis joins us now on the Roger Stone Show.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you for having me. And I'm too controversial and crazy to get confirmed to anything. So I don't know if Attorney General's in the cards, but thank you for that kind introduction.
All right, let's kind of start with the developments in Georgia. Shocking new revelations that Fani Willis, who is the prosecutor in Fulton County, who has brought a case against Donald Trump and others, claiming that Trump knew he lost the Georgia elections and conspired with others to remain in power, reported now being romantically involved with the personal defense attorney, Nathan Wade, who she selected to be the prosecutor in this case, and paying Wade $645,000 in funds that were actually earmarked for COVID relief. Your reaction to this development?
So she hired her boyfriend, allegedly, who had no experience with felony trials. She brought in her boyfriend to run a very complex RICO case against a former president and 18 other co-defendants and a likely future president. This guy's not qualified. This appointment is illegal. There's a conflict of interest, obviously, when you're hiring your secret boyfriends. And then she got, making it even worse, that she hired her unqualified boyfriend for this job. She was allegedly taking kickbacks from her boyfriend in the form of these lavish trips around the world. So she's going to face disqualification from this case. So will her boyfriend, her alleged boyfriend, they'll face dismissal of this case. They're going to face bar complaints and disbarment proceedings. And if there is any justice in this world, they should also face criminal charges, both in Georgia and under federal criminal charges, for their obvious corruption. These kickbacks are obviously illegal.
So that's how you think this relationship would impact the integrity of the Trump legal proceedings?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Fani Willis appointed her boyfriend, secret boyfriend, as the special prosecutor, that violates Georgia law. There's an obvious conflict of interest, and I think that President Trump and these co-defendants should move to dismiss this case with prejudice, meaning the case goes away. Even if the judge does not dismiss with prejudice, the judge should absolutely remove Fani Willis and her alleged boyfriend from this case if these allegations are true that this guy is Fani Willis's secret boyfriend who she hired, and then there's the separate matter. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene sent a criminal referral to Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr, asking for them to open a criminal investigation of this matter, which they absolutely have the statutory right to do and they have the duty to do, because you could not have a corrupt prosecutor like Fani Willis is alleged to be and just let nothing happen. There have to be consequences. These prosecutors have so much power. And think about it this way, Roger. Remember, this outside prosecutor, her alleged boyfriend, this secret boyfriend, is getting paid $250 an hour on this case. So it's in his interest and it's in Fani's interest that he gets as much money as possible, right? So he wants to build a complicated case with as many co-defendants as possible, which is what they've done, and he's enriching himself off of this, and so is she, in the form of these kickbacks, these lavish trips.
At the same time, evidently, Fani Willis has now been named, I guess subpoenaed, in this prosecutor, actually personal injury attorney, Nathan Wade's proceedings. This is all getting pretty sordid.
Yeah, I think Nathan Wade's ex-wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, is clearly unhappy with this alleged homewrecker, Fani Willis, and it sounds like this spurned wife of Nathan Wade is going to haul in Fani and put her Fani in a chair and grill her about this relationship, about how Fani Willis destroyed her marriage. And so this is only going to get worse for Fani Willis. I don't see how Fani Willis is going to be able to stay on this Trump case. I don't know how she's going to be able to keep this job. I don't know how she's going to be able to keep her freedom. I think she's going to prison over this.
Where is the Georgia Attorney General? Why, or maybe it's a premature question, but would you not think that the Georgia Attorney General would have some responsibility to act here?
Yeah, he absolutely does, and so does the governor. Governor Brian Kemp, Attorney General Chris Carr, they both have statutory authority to open a criminal investigation when you're dealing with these officials in the states, like this Fulton County DA, Fani Willis. When you're dealing with corruption, they have the statutory ability. I think they have the constitutional duty to do this. And I think it's very important that they do this. And if they don't do this, they are not doing their jobs. They're derelict in their duty. They are violating their oath to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the United States in Georgia, because the law is very clear in Georgia. The Georgia statute is very clear that if these allegations against Fani Willis are true, he violated several Georgia criminal statutes, and the governor and the attorney general are in charge of enforcing these laws. And so they have to order an investigation here. I don't know how they can avoid it. I don't care how much Trump derangement or Trump hatred they have. This is about the integrity of the judicial system in the state of Georgia. This is about the integrity of functioning government in Georgia.
Now, also we learned this week that evidently Fani Willis visited the White House to meet with Joe Biden's counsel. It's been previously, and did so prior to the indictment of Trump and others, it's been previously disclosed that Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, went to the White House, met with Biden's legal counsel prior to Trump's indictment on civil cases in New York City. And it was reported earlier that representatives, attorneys working for Special Counsel Jack Smith met with White House counsel. Is this not the real RICO conspiracy?
Yeah, that sounds right, Roger. And I've been saying this since the Mar-a-Lago raid 17 months ago, that this is clearly coordinated with the Biden White House, President Biden and his staff, and that's I don't know how they could deny it. You had Deputy White House Counsel to President Biden waive President Trump's claim of executive privilege on behalf of President Biden. So that led to the unprecedented, unnecessary, and unlawful home raid on President Trump for the presidential records he's allowed to have, the congressionally funded office of the former president under the Presidential Records Act. You have Alvin Bragg up in New York, who brought the first indictment. The Soros-funded Manhattan DA brought the first indictment ever against a former president. And it was based upon this bogus case, this zombie case in New York, where they went after Trump. They tried to take a settlement of a nuisance claim, which is routine for business people to settle nuisance claims, and they tried to turn that into this felony case with multiple felonies to go after Trump. This is after the prior Manhattan DA passed on this. The Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office passed on this case. The Federal Election Commission passed on this case. Alvin Bragg himself, when he became the DA, passed on this case. It wasn't until Matthew Colangelo got sent as a senior Biden political appointee in the Justice Department, the number 2 to the number 3, got deployed to Manhattan from Washington, D.C., and resurrected this zombie case against Trump to bring that indictment. So you have Biden's fingers on those two cases. You also have Biden's fingers on Jack Smith's case. It's obviously Biden's Attorney General Merrick Garland had appointed Jack Smith, right? So that's pretty clear that Biden had his fingerprints on that. With Fani Willis, she had her boyfriends build two 8 hours entries for $2,000 each, $4,000 for 2 meetings that this Nathan Wade had on behalf of Fani Willis related to Trump's case, where Nathan Wade had 2 meetings with the White House staff, including one with the White House counsel in Athens, Georgia, before Fani Willis brought this indictment against President Trump along with the 18 co-defendants. It shows you that these 4 criminal indictments by these Democrat prosecutors are being coordinated with Biden and his staff, including the White House counsel.
Could not Trump and his attorneys file at least a civil RICO case against all these prosecutors?
Well, it's hard to go after the prosecutors, but you can certainly go after the White House officials for doing this, right? Prosecutors get immunity, so it's very hard to sue prosecutors and judges. But for the non-prosecutors, for the non-judges who are involved in this lawfare, like Trump's White House counsel and Trump's other staff, it seems like that's not within their official duties to work with local prosecutors to unleash lawfare and election interference against their boss's chief political enemy for the 2024 election. This is obviously election interference. That would seem to violate the Hatch Act. That would seem to violate many other statutes, federal felony statutes on civil rights, obstruction of justice statutes. There's no shortage of criminal statutes that you can look to go after these bad actors in the Biden White House for this lawfare.
So we had these hearings on the question of whether President Donald Trump had immunity for any act committed within the scope of his presidency before the Supreme Court this past week. Kind of shocking that the president's lawyers did not raise what I think is a legitimate constitutional issue about the legitimacy of the appointment of Jack Smith as special counsel, which some argue because he was not a sitting U.S. attorney and therefore was never confirmed for a position by the U.S. Senate, and because there is no statute in place that gives the Attorney General the authority to appoint a special counsel, that law having expired, that Smith's appointment may be legally improper, illegal, which would void all of his indictments. Why have the president's lawyers not yet raised this issue former Attorney General Ed Meese filed an amicus brief with two brilliant law professors who are not necessarily Trump supporters with the Supreme Court. But why have Trump's lawyers not raised this issue in any forum? In your opinion?
Well, I don't know. I haven't had this discussion with his lawyers on that, but I would say if this is a jurisdictional argument that's being raised, it doesn't need to be raised by the attorneys if it's already raised by the amicus briefs. And as you know, Roger, these jurisdictional issues are not waivable, meaning if Trump's lawyers don't raise them, they're not waived because it's jurisdiction. So the court will have to, and these courts have to make sure, they have to assure themselves that they actually have subject matter jurisdiction on these cases. And if they don't, then they can kick the case on those grounds. I think it's a very interesting and compelling argument, and it could be a winner. I also think that how I think this is going to proceed is this D.C. circuit with two Biden judges and a George H.W. Bush judge on this three-judge panel. I think that this three-judge panel is going to rule against President Trump on presidential immunity, which is insane because members of Congress are immune both criminally and civilly for their official actions through the speech or debate clause of the Constitution. Federal judges are immune criminally or civilly for their official actions under judicial immunity. Presidents are civilly immune. We've never had the chance to decide whether presidents are criminally immune because this is the first time ever with this lawfare against Trump that a former president has faced a criminal indictment for actions he took as the president of the United States. So the Supreme Court will almost certainly have to take this case and establish at a baseline level that, yes, the president of the United States, like members of Congress, like federal judges, are immune from criminal and civil prosecution for their official actions as the president of the United States, including the outer perimeter of their official actions, which is the current Supreme Court case law for civil immunity. And then I think the Supreme Court is going to remand the case back down to Judge Chuck and Biden, this Obama D.C. judge to have a mini trial on the immunity issue to figure out what actions President took as the president of the United States, including the outer perimeter, and what actions he took as a private citizen. And then Jack Smith is not going to be able to prosecute President Trump for what he did or did not do as the president of the United States. And I'll give you an example. The Democrats are complaining that President Trump didn't call in the D.C. National Guard quickly enough to put down the January 6th protest, the lawful protest that turned into a riot. And I would say that that is very much a presidential duty because only the president of the United States can call in the D.C. National Guard. Governors control the National Guards in their states. The president controls the D.C. National Guard, and only the president can decide whether to call or not call the D.C. National Guard. So he would absolutely be immune from that under presidential immunity. Otherwise, you're going to start to see the Trump 47 Justice Department looking at indictments for, say, President Obama, for President Obama's drone strike on two American citizens. Extrajudicial drone strike, didn't get a court order, just ordered the murder of two American citizens, including a 16-year-old. So maybe President Obama can face capital murder if we don't have criminal immunity for presidents for their official acts. And maybe President Biden can face manslaughter or felony murder charges for not securing the border, intentionally letting the border go wide open and fentanyl flooding into America and killing American citizens, or his disastrous withdrawal, his reckless withdrawal out of Afghanistan that led to the death of 12, to the murder of 12 American service members. Can President Obama now and President Biden now face criminal prosecution? Do the Democrats really want to go down this path? I don't think they do.
Grandpa's here.
Hank's always helping out, Grandpa style. Now he's treating his prostate cancer with help from Xtandi enzalutamide. Xtandi 40 milligram tablets treats men with prostate cancer that has spread to other parts of the body and responds to a medical or surgical treatment to lower testosterone. Xtandi may cause serious side effects: seizure, a brain condition called PRESS, allergic reactions, heart disease that can lead to death, falls and bone fractures, swallowing problems, or choking that can lead to death. Stop Xtandi and get medical help at once if your face, tongue, lip, or throat start swelling. Tell your doctor at once if you faint, have a seizure, quickly worsening headache, decreased alertness, confusion, vision problems, chest pain or discomfort, or shortness of breath. Xtandi can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during and 3 months after Xtandi. Common side effects include muscle and joint pain, feeling unusually tired, hot flashes, constipation, less appetite, diarrhea, high blood pressure, bleeding, falls, fractures, and headache. Talk to your doctor and visit Xtandi.com.
This episode is brought to you by Factor. Optimize your nutrition this year with Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal service. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved, ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Choose from 40 weekly options across 8 dietary preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Eat smarter at factormeals.com/listen50 and use code LISTEN50 for 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Factormeals.com/listen50, code LISTEN50. T's and C's apply.
What makes a great pair of glasses? At Warby Parker, it's all the invisible extras without the extra cost. Their designer quality frames start at $95, including prescription lenses, plus scratch-resistant, smudge-resistant, and anti-reflective coatings, and UV protection, and free adjustments for life. To find your next pair of glasses, sunglasses, or contact lenses, or to find the Warby Parker store nearest you, head over to warbyparker.com. That's warbyparker.com.
The basketball playoffs are here on PrizePicks, the best place to cash in on the action. The app is simple. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code FIELD, that's code FIELD, and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code FIELD on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for just playing, guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
It really does have extraordinary implications. Trump has begun making this point in his public remarks and also in his social media postings. It would put former and future presidents, make it virtually impossible for them to discharge their duties. Mike, on the question of the Colorado Supreme Court moving to bar Trump from the ballot, then staying their own action, the U.S. Supreme Court has now agreed to hear that. How do you see that playing out?
This is where the Democrats jumped the shark on their lawfare. There are 2 bogus impeachments. There are 4 bogus indictments for non-crimes. There are 2 illegal gag orders. That all backfired. Their civil fraud lawsuit for the non-fraud of paying back sophisticated Wall Street banks in full on time as agreed with interest. Somehow that's fraud, and they're trying to bankrupt Trump and destroy his business and destroy his ability to make money in New York. That's all backfiring. Now the Democrats are throwing their legal Hail Mary, and they just want to take President Trump off the ballots, which is the most anti-democratic thing imaginable, that you're just going to disenfranchise tens of millions of Trump supporters by simply taking him off the ballot. The Democrats pretend like they're saving democracy by destroying democracy, and they're doing this through a bogus legal theory. They've dusted off this 155-year-old provision in the Constitution, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, passed after the Civil War. After the Civil War, we passed the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to outlaw slavery, guarantee equal protection and due process to the freed slaves, and to guarantee voting rights to the freed male slaves. And then what we saw were these Confederates winning office. They were winning offices, like, for example, in the House of Representatives, and they were undermining the post-Civil War Reconstruction effort and the Union. So we included Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, where you can disqualify those people who engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the United States during the Civil War. But the only way you can do that, according to a case by then Chief Justice Solomon Chase, is Congress has to pass a federal criminal statute on insurrection or rebellion, which Congress did. That statute has to have a disqualification clause. So you have a criminal statute for insurrection or rebellion, and it includes disqualification. You have to bring a federal prosecutor has to bring federal charges, A federal grand jury has to indict. A federal jury has to unanimously find guilt with evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. The federal judge has to convict, and that conviction must be upheld on appeal. That's the only way you can disqualify. January 6th Democrats and Trump-deranged rhinos like Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, along with the Biden Justice Department, including Jack Smith, have spent tens of millions of dollars hunting for evidence of insurrection. It does not exist, because how many insurrectionists go unarmed into a nation's capital, get to the Senate floor, walk through velvet ropes, follow police direction, take selfies, and don't burn down the damn place? January 6th was a lawful protest permitted by the National Park Service that devolved into a riot. There's no evidence whatsoever it was an insurrection. There's no evidence whatsoever that Trump incited that insurrection. And if there were evidence, Jack Smith, no doubt, this bulldog Scud missile prosecutor, no doubt would have charged President Trump with inciting insurrection under that statute if the evidence existed. These four Democrat whack jobs on the Colorado Supreme Court in a 4-3 decision just took Trump off the ballot based upon this mini trial they had on an election challenge, did not give President Trump the proper procedures and due process, just took him off. There is no doubt the Supreme Court is going to reverse the Colorado Supreme Court. It should be 9-0, but I fear that these Democrat appointees, these 3 Democrat appointees on the U.S. Supreme Court, are not interested in following the law. They've become partisan activists in robes.
Mike, what was your reaction to the announcement by D.C. U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves that he will now begin prosecuting people who didn't enter the Capitol on January 6th, but were standing on the grounds outside the Capitol?
This is outrageous. They've already put these January 6th defendants through hell, where they kept them detained for many, many, many months, sometimes even in very harsh conditions before their trials. They've been railroaded. Look, I've said there are 3 categories of people on January 6th. There are people who were there lawfully. There are people there peacefully. And it doesn't matter whether you agree with them or disagree with them. They have an absolute First Amendment right to challenge elections and protest governments. And that is bedrock in our Constitution and in our tradition. You have to leave those people alone. There are people who trespassed into the Capitol who should be charged with trespass, and there were people who were violent, and you should charge the people who were violent more harshly, including Capitol police officers who were violent, including, if there were government agents, FBI agents in that crowd inciting the mob, they should be charged as well. But what you can't do is have 2 systems of justice in this country where you ignore your BLM and Antifa and Hamas supporters, your abortion industry activists who are burning down Catholic churches and terrorizing Supreme Court justices in their homes, the trans terrorists who are attacking Catholic parishioners. You can't ignore your violent supporters and then send the full force of the Justice Department to go after your political enemies and label them all insurrectionists, which is laughable, it's defamatory, and then try to use January 6th as a way to take out your top political enemy, his top aides, his lawyers, and his supporters. It is outrageous what the Biden Justice Department is doing. They're going after parents outraged by gender chaos in schools and the resulting rapes in high school bathrooms. They're going after Christians praying outside of abortion clinics while they give amnesty to their trans terrorists and their abortion activists and their BLM and Antifa and Hamas supporters. And if they actually follow through, if Matthew Graves, this partisan hack U.S. attorney in D.C., follows through and starts arresting people who were merely on the Capitol grounds on January 6th, that is the red line where these House Republicans need to shut down the whole damn government over this, because that is outrageous. I've worked in the Senate where during the Capitol proceedings and other judicial proceedings where these Democrat activists, these abortion activists, chased senators through restricted areas. They screamed and yelled during the Capitol proceedings. They screamed and yelled on the Senate floor. Not a damn thing happened to them. If you're going to go after people who are outside the building on the lawn and charge them with trespassing, screw the Justice Department. We should shut down the whole damn place.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think your expectation for the House Republicans probably optimistic. I'm still waiting to see the rest of the January 6th camera footage, which the new speaker has promised us, but which we still haven't seen. Most of which has come to light was footage that was previously available. What do you think's going on there?
Yeah, that's a very good question. What the Democrats, along with their weak Republican lapdogs, did to the January 6th defendants is unforgivable. Look, what happened on January 6th when people trespassed and got violent, that was bad, and they should be treated accordingly. The fact that the Justice Department, the Biden Justice Department, including the corrupt FBI, used January 6th to run the biggest law enforcement operation in world history to go after Trump and his supporters while they ignore Biden's much more deadly, much more destructive BLM and Antifa and Hamas and abortion activists, Planned Parenthood and trans terrorist supporters. It's just we can't have these two systems of justice where our judicial system does not have much credibility left, right? And if Matthew Graves goes down this path of he's going to go after people trespassing on the Capitol lawn, he can go to hell. He can actually go to hell, and House Republicans need to shut down the government over that. They need to impeach his ass. They need to haul him in for oversight. They need to make this as painful as possible, because that is the red line.
All right. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Let me thank my guest, Mike Davis, former chief counsel for the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee, former clerk for Judge Gorsuch. I'm very grateful to you, Mike, for joining us here on the Roger Stone Show. Folks, I ask you to stay tuned for my great friend Joe Piscopo coming up next with Sundays with Sinatra, which is perfect on this cold Sunday here in New York City.
This is your before and after story. Instead of imagining a rewarding career in medical imaging, Southeastern College can actually take you there. Prepare for a career in ultrasound, radiology, and X-ray technology. With hands-on specialized training, simulations, and real-life experience with the latest imaging technology, you'll be ready to play a vital role on any healthcare team. Transform your life by helping others. Southeastern College. Your future is bright. Visit scc.edu to get started.